It's good to see more than one group of people here. We were the two that were here solely 2
Last
years ago.
year.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It was good to see you guys.
Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it was good to see some more people who were interested in coming in. And I think really it was just a mix up with like emails last year. That was kind of the big issue. And I'm not sure how many. Do you know how many press outlets they have this year for Grand Rapids? I know they slimmed down because there were some people that were just kind of, they wanted to go to give their family some free tickets or something like that. So.
No, it's like, and
You
it's,
had to kind of wind down on that type of stuff.
my wife Courtney organizes all the convention business. It's something that we always want to make available to especially the show hosts and the local bloggers, the local press, is having some kind of interview opportunity because, it's I enjoy it and it's fun and it's support all of the local fans and businesses related to those because it's a good thing for all of us and it's great to talk to local people, local fans.
So how often are you able to do cons like this, like Grand Rapids Comic Con?
We do about 15 shows a year. Depends. Sometimes it's a little less, but usually it's a little more. We kind of mix it up between, and it's usually by invite only. People that reach out to us and hey, would you come here? Would you come here? And then Courtney will, my wife Courtney will organize it so that we have a variety. So it's some East Coast, some Southern, some West Coast, and right here in the Heartland. It's sort of like so we get the chance to visit everybody. And then oftentimes when we can, like Grand Rapids, we were here 2 years ago, so we'll switch it up every couple of years. I have been lucky enough to be asked back to the same venue so that we can skip a year and then go somewhere we haven't been yet. But I thoroughly enjoy the conventions. It really is energizing for me because my job is kind of a solitary gig. It's not a team sport. Usually me sitting there drawing, and so when you get out and meet the fans, you sort of realize the effect that your work and the things you've been sweating and previously lots and lots of hours. It's paying off because it means a lot to the fans that you makes it well worth it, even more worth it. So.
And what do people like to know when they meet you? I mean, what do they, not necessarily frequently asked questions, but I guess, what do people like, what people ask you? What do they like to know?
It's a wide range, because we're lucky in that, the Turtles are now, 35 years old, and so we've got this awesome blessing of, many original fans that grew up on the cartoon series and that were, 4, 5, 6. When they saw it, now they're, late 20s, early 30s, oftentimes have kids. And what is mind-blowing that we found that fan base the first time around, and now it's become generational, is that, this new generation that has found something that still resonates all these years later with them and the Turtles. Because, I always say that you can't really tell kids what's cool and what's not cool. They decide. So the range of questions goes everything from, for me, who's your favorite turtle, and why? Who's your favorite bad guy? Some of the older fans will ask, like, hey, why in the original comic books the bandanas were red, and why did they get colorized for the cartoon series?
Those are some hardcore fans. I didn't even know.
Yeah, that's the cool part too, because there is, and it's. I love the range of intensity is that we have some very hardcore fans that most, I would guarantee that they know much more than I do about the Turtles, and that we've had so many Turtle universes, from the original cartoon show to the new Nickelodeon show and several in between, and the movies and the variations of each. But I love that, my favorite thing is like you'll have, say, maybe a fan like yourself that was maybe bought a Turtle comic book in 1985 or 86, and you still have it, and it's dog-eared, it's chewed up, it's, and they bring it, they'll sheepishly sort of put it on the table. It's like, sorry, that's all I had to bring to have you sign. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea how awesome and what an honor this is that you not only got that when you got that, but you saved it all these years, and it's not, beat up, it's well loved, and I love that too. And what's my favorite turtle toy, that kind of stuff. So it is quite a range of stuff. I love it.
Well, Raphael's my favorite turtle. Awesome. And do people ever have you autograph pizza boxes? I was just kind of curious about that.
Yep, done it many times. And I think that's cool. And it's like, and have you done, they finished eating their pizza and I've signed the box, or they would bring just because a lot of people remember that scene in the first Turtles movie with the Domino's pizza delivery, so they'll get an empty box from Domino's, and I always do like a little remark. I do like a little turtle head sketch on each with each autograph, so they put that up on the wall, which is
As far as fandom goes, a lot of people I'm sure ask you turtle questions.
Mm-hmm.
Where does your fandom lie? What do you geek out about as far as franchises?
You know, it's tried and true to, you know, like Daredevil, for example, was, you know, that was, when I was growing up, that was one of my favorite comic books. I really gravitated towards, I guess you call them the more grounded superheroes, and being that, you know, Captain America or Batman or Daredevil, powers were limited, you know, I mean, like Superman, but it was almost too hard to buy into, so to speak. It's like too much there. But I like the more grounded superheroes, and so like, you know, when they started doing the Daredevil Netflix show, just fell in love with it because they really picked up on all those isms that I grew up with originally with Daredevil, right up through the Frank Miller years, and then beyond to you know, the intensity of the character, and brought it to the audience, the same level of intensity that I loved about the character, which was great. And then that whole series, I mean, the Luke Cage I wasn't as happy with that. I liked it. Iron Fist was a little thin, but I loved the Defenders series that Jessica Jones was quite good, and that kind of stuff. But I always, even I was at a comic store yesterday. I was down at IDW for working on the new Turtles comic. We're plotting out the issues 90 through 100. And went in, I always try to pick up a couple things that I like. It was a collection of a Richard Corbin series of short horror stories. Then I'd like to try something new, like something I hadn't seen before. And I picked up a series that's up to issue 5. It's called Barriers, and a few other things. So it's the art and the story, and just like to take a chance on something, and, you know, like to make a neat discovery on my own. So it's still, you know, again, going into the comic store is much like going to Comic-Con. I love the smell of it. And it's like, home. You know, so.
Okay, and getting into IDW, we saw you recommended the Nickelodeon, the animated Turtles Batman crossover.
Yes.
We picked that up. It was excellent.
Oh, good.
And I see that they're going to be doing a second part to the original Turtles Batman. Is that correct?
Yes, actually we did the second, because we did the original Turtles Batman crossover was intended for the original sort of older audience. So we did Freddie Williams was the artist, James Tinian was the writer. We did that series, then we did a second series that came out, I think it wrapped up earlier this year, and now they're talking about possibly doing a third, because the fans have really gotten into it. And it's one of those, you know, even the idea, because we had done one of my favorite crossovers pre-Turtles Batman, is we did a Turtles Ghostbusters, and I grew up as
I have that as well. Yeah.
huge Ghostbusters
It's a really good,
fan.
really good novel.
It was great. And then when the idea was floated about doing Turtles Batman, it was like, oh man, it would be a dream come true, because you could see how they could work in each other's universes, but you have to play it really carefully, because it could have been terrible just as easily as it could have been as good as it was, and I think it turned out great, and that's credit goes to James Tinian, who wrote it. He really gave both characters and you know, the Batman characters and the Turtle characters great moments in each universe, and the story held together really well. So the fans dug it, and so we did the second part, and we're talking about a third one. But there's, you know, it's funny because when you do a crossover, then you start thinking like, oh, you know who else would be great to crossover with? We'll do a Turtles Daredevil crossover would be awesome.
That's what I would think you would do as far as like a Marvel character. Yeah, I would assume Daredevil, given that their origin stories kind of linked together. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've been friends with Rob Liefeld for many, many years, so we always joke about a Turtles Deadpool crossover. That'd be manic.
Just
That'd be a whole other level.
It would have to be just the middle of the book would be just Mikey and Deadpool out on the town. I
Yeah.
feel.
Get into all kinds of trouble.
They'd be best friends.
Yeah, they would.
It really would.
So, besides that possibility, which would be
awesome.
I don't even have a word. Cowabunga, I guess. So, what? Anything else you want to mention that you might have coming up in the future or working on right now or anything?
Well, for the Turtles front, we're so excited in that you know, when we launched this in 2011, Tom Walsh is the head writer, and such a fantastic writer in that you know, he just literally finished writing issue 90, and he's written every single one. He's such a fantastic guy. He really created a foundation for this new Turtle universe. So we said if we got past the first year and we could get enough fans to join the ride, we had sort of a fairly calculated path to get us to issue 50. And we're like, fingers and toes and anything else we could crossed. So if we get there, we'd say, oh, that'd be great, a run of 50 issues. And we did, and the fans stayed right with us, and actually the fan base grew a little bit. So when we get to 50, we plotted out where we want to go to 100. And it was designed as such as that the last 10 issues, 90 through 100, were kind of a homage to the last Turtle story that Peter and I did at Mirage, which was called City at War. It was kind of ran 48 through 62. And so we've got a buckle your seatbelts kind of ride for the fans, starting with issue 90, which comes out in January. And so that's super exciting, because it was, issue 10, issue 100 will be November, double size, and yeah, it's really exciting. But other than that, it's actually it's shipping this week. We did a Kickstarter last year for a series I did about a cartoonist set in the world of comic books. It's called Drawing Blood, and it's about a guy that, inspired by characters and creations like Eastman and Laird's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a completely fictional true story. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. In 1992, this guy Shane Bookman and his brother Paul created these characters called the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, with these 3 samurai cats, all named after famous Japanese animators. So we have Miyazaki, Otomo, and Tezuka, raised above a sushi restaurant in Queens. And in the story, that became a huge success, became toys and cartoons. And the guy that created it, the partnership split up, him and his brother. And Shane Bookman was the main artist for it. Has spent the next 20 years trying to get back to his creativity, and he's had some kind of cross between Spinal Tap-ish, a little Breaking Bad-ish, a little semi-autobiographical, but he's had a rough ride, and so this picks up his story. So he's everything from gangsters that are chasing him, ex-wives. He's haunted by his characters. Will appear to him in various states of self-abuse of alcohol and drugs. But it's a neat ride, and it's the first comic I could think of that's set within the world of comic books. And it's a little behind. It's part autobiographical in what I bring to it, but I've known so many artists over the past 30 years, and so to me, the best stories of what happens behind the scenes in a comic, in the world of comics, whether it be relationships with Hollywood or publishers or fan anecdotes and things like that, are all usually told at the bar after the convention. So all the writers and the artists get together and they have a beer. Oh, how's it going with that publisher? And what's going on with your deal in Hollywood? And it's always great and crazy stories. So I sort of took all of those and put them into a blender, and this is kind of an amalgamation of all those things. So that's shipping now, and we're going to start self-publishing it as our ongoing series. We'll service the Kickstarter fans first. It's a 12-issue series. The first 4 issues are part of the Kickstarter, so that'll come out this week, and then we'll get on to the publishing of it in January.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you get to check
Different,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Yes. And we got time if you guys need to, if you have a few other questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last time we spoke with you,
Thanks.
you talked about a new series that you were writing. I believe it was called L.A. Dead.
Oh, Los Angeles, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah, it's funny because we Los Angeles was kind of a homage to my favorite John Carpenter movies, as well as Walter Hill did a movie in 1986-ish, 85, 86 called The Warriors. Love that. So it's sort of, Escape from L.A., Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China-ish, Warriors-ish, but it's set in post-apocalyptic Los Angeles, and it's Lost, L-O-S-T, It's like somebody took the logo of Los Angeles and sort of carved in a T at the end of Lost. Mm-hmm. And it's a 6-issue series, and I had initially, it's completely written. I've written and drawn, and I've done the layouts for the first 2 issues. It was going to be published through IDW. IDW decided not to go forward with it for a number of structural changes within the company, and I talked to a few other publishers about doing it, but then a lot of things that developed with the Drawing Blood Kickstarter, that's taken me back to straight up self-publishing, kind of like with the Turtles, how the Turtles started. And so Kickstarter gave me a start to create the artwork and start down a path with Drawing Blood that now I'll self-publish it through my own studio, like the old days. And so I want to continue that momentum going, because there's nothing like that complete creative freedom that you can do, and you don't have editors, you don't have this, you just have what story you want to tell. And so we'll do a Kickstarter for Los Angeles, and I'm talking to a few artists because I like that what I can bring to the table as far as the writing and the layouts and how I like to pace out a story, but the energy I get from working with guys like Simon Bisley, who I'll figure it out, do the layouts, everything's there, and then Simon will finish it. I could never finish it as good as he could with projects like Fistful of Blood or Melting Pot or things like that. And even most recently, I just finished a Turtles graphic novel. They did a series they call macro series. It's 40 pages, one on each turtle. I believe Donatello and Michelangelo come out, Leonardo shipping now, and Ben Bishop, the artist that I'm working with on Drawing Blood. We did one called Target R, and that's coming out in December. So it's 46 pages of. We did 6 extra pages. We couldn't fit all the story in 40. Wow. It's kind of my another love poem to one of my favorite comics, which is Barry Smith's Wolverine, Weapon X. So it's sort of Raphael's kind of always been kind of our Wolverine kind of guy. So this is 46 pages of mayhem. And so in that story, the same fashion, I wrote it. Tom and I created the concept. I wrote it. I did the final writing, and then did all the layouts. And then Ben did the finished artwork with Tommy Varga, who's a colorist I've worked with for 5-6 years. He's fantastic. So yeah, I think that projects like Los Angeles and a few other ones that I'm going to go with the Kickstarter than self-publishing routine, because it's like I said, it's a blessing in that I've got a fan base that'll help support some of my creative endeavors, which is something I'm endlessly grateful for. But then going back to the self-publishing is sort of like what comes out of my brain to the page and how I want the story to do. That's how the Turtles started, so I want to go back there again, and it feels like coming home, feels like going home, so I'm pretty psyched.
Sure, yeah. And we know you have a little man, Shane. Great name,
Shane.
Great name, by the way. Is he a Teen Titans Go fan by any chance? Have you seen the Teen Titans Go movie? And are you familiar with the Turtles reference that is in it?
It just I know it was it came out in theaters. For some reason, we didn't get to see it in theaters. I think it's on pay-per-view right now. But he was like, because it's funny because he was a Teen Titans Go fan, and then he's because we've known Greg Sipes for many years, who does Beast Boy as well as Michelangelo in the Nickelodeon series. So he's met Greg a few times. So he's like Mikey and Beast Boy, right? But we haven't seen it yet, but I think it's going to be one of those. Friday nights are our pizza and popcorn night with family movie night, so it's on the list of.
Yeah, there's a nice little nod to you guys in there, and I think you'll appreciate. I don't want to spoil it for you, so I definitely I wasn't sure if you heard about it yet or not, but. When I was very surprised when I saw it too, so it was pretty cool.
I love that's because I love when they do that stuff, because it's so like a Lego movie. They had when a Turtles was in there for a second, and then they appear. And actually, one of my favorite surprises was and that's what's quite amazing and humbling and crazy is that the Turtles have become iconic in that pop culture icon, and that you can be a Jeopardy question or something, or people reference it, like you see Jimmy Fallon reference it for something, or even I was watching Stephen Colbert. I love Stephen Colbert, and he was talking about this museum in France that had just been audited with. It was for a famous landscape painter in southern France, and it had just been audited for. I found out a lot of the paintings were supposed to be originals. They were actually fakes. They were reproductions.
Wow.
And then part of the joke was, he goes, and they should have known when they saw this, and he put up on the screen behind him, which was a painting of Leonardo from the Turtles with a beret on. He said, that should have been the dead giveaway. And so that they can, it's arrived at that stature that people can make a joke like that, and people get it, and you go, holy crikey, that's crazy. But one of my favorites is I was a longtime fan of the Walking Dead comics and series, and they do this great tribute to the Turtles, and I believe it was season 5 or 6, I'm not sure, but it was the origin of Morgan, the character. If you watch the series, is the guy with the staff. I don't know, do you know the one? You know what I'm talking
yes.
about?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I was saying like where he goes in and he meets that guy and he's got a shirt on that says "Save the Terrapins."
Yep.
He's at the bow staff, and then when he tells him sort of halfway through, he said, you know, what's your name? He said, I'm Eastman, and we went like, no, that's too crazy. He's got to save the turtle shirt and a bow staff and things. And then it was Chris Hartwick sort of said when he did Talking Dead after, he said that's got to be a tribute to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was we had no idea, so we're sort of watching it going like, that's too cool.
Yeah, and of course, the Morgan Tello memes were on fire when that was happening as
my
well.
God.
So many memes of Morgan, Donatello, stuff like that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, so that was, to me, that was like, that's pretty epically cool. So.
Where, aside from like IDW's website, is there any links or any type of charities which you'd like to plug at all?
No, we do a lot of, if you go to Kevin Eastman Studios, that's kind of the main hub of all things that I do, whether it be show dates, shows, appearances, other bits and pieces of what's going on in my world and that cool stuff I get to do. Like most recently, I get to do a Spider-Man cover, which was the coolest, coolest thing. So Kevin Eastman Studios, but we do the charities that Courtney and I pick out. We choose. We do one